They say that he said he was a Satanist, and I can't see that coming out of Michael's mouth ever. No one that knows him will say that they could see it coming out of Michael's mouth.
When I asked him about it, we got to speak with him last night for a little bit, and I asked him about it, and he said that the devil was controlling him for 3 days. They've told us that he shows symptoms of bipolar and some type of schizophrenia.
Someone drove a vehicle up on the lawn of the state capitol last night and smashed into a controversial Ten Commandments monument outside the Capitol building. They knocked over the monument with the car, and the monument's in pieces right now.
Michael has so many friends. He wants to do things, you know, and he wants to take someone with him to do them. He wants to go try a new restaurant. He takes someone with him to do that.
And all it takes is one time.
Right.
One
Once
person.
they meet him, they're like, he couldn't be violent. He couldn't be vicious. He couldn't be hateful. That stuff was not in Michael.
He kind of became a part of my family. That's a big part of the reason we're so close. And when my mom was dying in the hospital, he would go, and like nobody would have to be there. Nobody would have to start it. He would go and sit up there with her for hours in the middle of the night, and he's always been there for my family. He's just a fantastic person. So he had a lot of life inside of him, and I hate to see his spirit crushed like this.
I was living with him, taking care of him for his back surgeries, and I had moved back toward Arkansas to take care of my father, and that's when Michael had his first breakdown. And after that, we knew he needed someone there. He had the major one in October and November of last year, and there was no option but for him to come and live with me. And he'd lived with me since then, and we thought he was doing fine. And about a week and a half before this, or about a week before this stuff started, he had got him an apartment, he bought him a car, and then the world knew about Michael. It's when everything just blew up again.
At Valley Behavioral, they had put him on injections and a medication while he was there, and after that his follow-up care was to go see a psychiatrist, and he took the injection a couple times when he left there. They administered it to him in the office, and then when he went to go get it himself from the pharmacy, that after his insurance paid, it was $900.
For how many?
For one.
We're told the shot is a $2,200 shot without insurance. But it brought Michael back as far as he came, because his mind was like a raw steak. He was just shattered. That's what he was. You know, it was doing good for him, from what we had seen. You could look at Michael and you could see like a vacancy, like he wasn't in there. He was just holding this body, you know, walking around in this empty body is what it was like. He was not the same person. He's been living with me for those 8 months, and mostly he stayed in the bedroom. He very rarely talked, but I thought he was getting better. I didn't realize that he was not talking to me because he didn't want to have to tell me the thoughts that were going through his head. He had admitted that to me. He says, "Mom, it's not that they're gone. It's that I don't want to scare you." Because when he first came to stay with me, I didn't sleep. I was afraid of what Michael might do in the middle of the night to himself, or that he would leave.
And I noticed that the day that the incident happened, which was Wednesday, I believe.
Thursday.
Or Thursday, I'm sorry. That Thursday, I had spent like 2 or 3 hours with him that morning, and we had just talked about a bunch of stuff, and he was actually talking. That's the most he had talked to me, or that I'd seen him talk to anyone in the past, 8 or 9 months. And while he would be talking, he would just stop and his head would drift off. And I'm like, what are you doing? What's going on right now? And he was telling me that he was hearing voices. And I'm like, whose voice do you think you're hearing? He would tell me that God was speaking to him, or the Holy Spirit was speaking to him. And I asked him, I said, did this not, why are you doing this now? And he said, it never stopped. He said, I just stopped talking about it because of, people's reactions to him.
I mean, he is mentally ill, but in his personal life, he tried to be the best Christian he could be.
Yeah.
But he would be stopped by his own fear, his own inadequacy, and him not thinking he's good enough. He still didn't see himself as good enough. And that breaks my heart for him. And I think that was a huge struggle, because as Christians we try to be the best we can be. And people don't want you to know there's something wrong with them. And there's a stigma associated with it. So he tried to keep it under wraps. He's always planned on going across the country. And I think that's why his mental illness is taking such a religious side of things, because that's what he's consumed his life with. That's where his passion lies.
We talked to him last night for, 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
And he said, I talked to him about what had happened and stuff, and he said that the devil was controlling him for 3 days, and that for me not to worry.
Michael had hit the monument, and then he had walked over to the Murrow building, and the security guard walked up and asked him if everything was all right, because Michael was kissing the monuments, the separate. And Michael turned around to him and told him that he had done that over there and hit that monument, and that something about killing the president. So they called the FBI and the Secret Service, and everybody got involved in it. And then a couple hours later, the Secret Service called her and wanted to know where Michael's apartment was. They wanted access to his laptop. And they went into his apartment and went through everything he had, which, like I said, he'd been there a week. When he got to his car, he said,
I'm going on the mountain. And
when I get back, you're first on my list. I took it as a threat, because when he came in, I saw in his eyes that he wasn't there. You know what I mean? He'd walked in.
Doesn't sound like him at all. Even in his more delusional state, he's never threatened anybody.
It's like his eyes, it's like they almost change color. Like he has these bright blue, like shiny eyes, and this like darkness just comes over him. It's just blank.
That they make the help he needs accessible, because they see that this just escalates each time. And if that help is not available to him, what's going to happen the next time? I mean, he's 6'3". He's 29 years old, and in a mental state, there's not too many people that could control him if he didn't want them to. So it's probably going to get worse if he doesn't get the help that he needs. And that information is not there. It wasn't there for us, because we thought the first time it happened that, okay, he's fine. This is not going to happen again. We weren't aware that this mental illness is going to be a lifelong battle for him and a lifelong concern for us. And the help he needs has to be accessible. There has to be some place where we can go and find out this is not a one-time thing. This has happened the second time, and now it's happened the third time, and it's going to keep happening until we get some control over it through medical help.
Mental health education and mental health awareness is important. And we understand that Michael will be an example of that, because he broke a monumental thing that there's so much controversy over already. We understand there might be consequences from that, but he needs help and other people need help.
And people say that they're trying to use mental health as an excuse for what he did, and that's not true. Michael would be the first one that would be heartbroken over what he'd done in his right mind.
But he is not of sound mind.
But he's not of sound mind, and the history proves it. I mean, there's a paper trail that proves this. So why is there such a fight over getting him help? Here we're thrust into this spotlight because of that monument, and it has put a spotlight on mental health, and it really needs to be there on mental health, because that's what this is about. It's not about that monument. It's about a human being who his mind has been broken, it's been damaged, it is a medical issue that not enough help is being given in this country for. And jails are full of these people. The streets are full of these people. There are homes, families torn apart because these mentally ill people cannot get the services they need. It's heartbreaking for me because he's my son, and he had such promise in life, and to see him feel so hopeless that his mind has snapped and he's done things that when he is normal again, his heart will break over. And to know there's not anything I can do, that I have to rely on other people's skills and knowledge and their medical and their laws and their funding to get help for Michael and the ones that follow Michael. It's just heartbreaking. It's frustrating. It makes me angry that there's not something already in place for something that's such a big issue for so many people. And I don't want my son to be the face of it, but he is now.